Hello, everyone. Welcome inside Three Crows Studios, beautiful Morristown, Tennessee. We got another nice summer day. The heat has calmed down a little bit for us here, which is very nice. This is Two Guys Talking Baseball. As always, I'm Dallas Danger, joined by my best friend and colleague, Brian Logan. Brian, how's it going over there, man?
Oh, it was a great week for baseball this week.
It really was.
It was. We took a little rest and got a little excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. The All-Star break has been good to us, and we're going to talk all about that later, as well as some other cool stuff that's going around the world of baseball. But, the Stars were out indoors, I guess. It was too hot to have the roof open, but we had some Stars indoors, and that was a wonderful time. But we'll get to that later, Brian. We're coming out of the All-Star break. As we're recording tonight are the first games after the All-Star break. How you feeling about the Cubs now that you've had some time away from seeing them play every day?
Well, I think they ended the first half strongly. The pitching didn't look bad. The offense was scoring some runs. They played some good teams. It wasn't like, they played the basement teams. You know, they played the Orioles, and they did pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm hoping that they took this rest period to actually rest and build upon what they had already started going into the All-Star break.
Yeah, and I think that's the key for this Cubs team is, the bullpen is kind of what it's going to be. That's not really something that gets addressed at a trade deadline just because nobody wants to give up any sort of equity, whether it be prospects or major league players, for bullpen help. But if those strong starting pitchers can go deep into games and the offense can score some runs, they got a shot to win ball games. And they looked very good against Baltimore, which I think was a little surprising.
Yeah, very surprising to me.
For them to go to Baltimore and, get what they got out of that series. I think there's reason to feel good about the Cubs coming out of the break for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing what they should have been doing all along. Now, granted, it was for a short period of time, but I will take it. I will definitely take it because them just doing what they're supposed to do is a miracle in itself. And there hasn't been a lot of trade rumors in either. There's been more buying rumors, and I like hearing that because I like the team. We just need to play better.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't look at the Cubs as a big player one way or the other. I'd be surprised if they made a big pickup. I'd be surprised if they let anybody go. I think they might just be riding it out with, maybe one or two little under the radar type deals, shape some things up. But I think for the most part, this is what you got with the Chicago Cubs this year. So, hopefully they'll keep it up. The trade rumors are all in my direction, I think, because anytime the free agency or the trade deadline looms, the Dodgers are always the first team anybody wants to talk about because this is a team that spends and has a lot of prospect capital. And something that not a lot of people have talked about with the Dodgers is there's a traffic jam on this roster. Even if we don't go out and get the big blockbuster, we're going to be making some trades because we got to shore up some room on this roster.
Right.
We just got too many guys, prospects that are right there that either need to make it with the Dodgers or go somewhere else and get a shot. We got a lot of guys on the 60-day IL that eventually we're going to have 40-man roster spots for to come back. There's just a lot of, technicalities with the roster construction of the Dodgers. So I think it's going to be busy, but, there's already rumors about package deals with the White Sox to bring Luis Robert and Garrett Crochet and maybe even Michael Kopech in like a big deal, which would in theory solve some problems, of top-of-the-line starter, assuming his innings don't get up and he gets hurting with Crochet, and a guy that can play center field and hopefully be a good bat for us. But, we'll see. I think the Dodgers are going to be very active at the trade deadline. I think the team is going to look very different than it does now in 2 weeks. And, here's the thing. The Dodgers know they're going to be there in October. They've been playing 500 ball for 2 months and still have like a 7-game lead in the division. They're gonna be there.
Right.
So now the goal is who helps us in October, who makes us better in the playoffs, going for that World Series. So I feel pretty good about it, but it's hard to say because this team is going to look a lot different in a couple weeks. I think.
A lot of moving parts over there,
Yeah.
aren't there?
Yeah.
And I imagine whoever's playing in the south side of Chicago is wanting to get the hell out of there, no matter where they go.
Yeah, I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to go from whatever the White Sox are these days to a team like the Dodgers, who at least are putting forth the
Yeah.
effort. Yeah, so yeah, I think we're both feeling pretty good coming out of the break. I'm just happy that we got a little bit of a break. The Dodgers were awful going into the break. Two ninth inning meltdowns in a row to go into the break. We got some excitement. We'll talk about later with Teoscar and the home run derby, which
Right.
was kind of nice. To be able to celebrate something in Dodgerland after
very nice.
after a couple rough weeks, really, but those last 2 days were just like, come on, you got to be kidding me. So, yeah, looking forward to having games that count again, and looking forward to talking about the All-Star festivities. But before we do, there's a story in independent baseball that's been it's kind of been breaking and developing for a couple weeks. We just haven't got around to talking about it, so we're going to do that today. There's a gentleman in Iowa by the name of J.D. Scholten, who is a member of the Iowa House of Representatives in the 1st District. He's 44 years old. He pitched professionally for the Sioux City Explorers, who are now in the American Association of Professional Baseball. He pitched there from 03 to 07. So, week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Steve Montgomery, the current Sioux City manager, his scheduled starter, Jared Weatherby, was sick, I think. Couldn't get a lot of info on that, but he was unable to pitch, sort of last minute.
Right.
Montgomery's calling anybody he can think of.
Right.
He finally gets a hold of the 44-year-old Iowa State Representative J.D. Scholten and is like, hey, man, can you come pitch? And based on the interviews and reports I've seen, Scholten was at an event. He was at like a evening in the park type of event, and he said he'd had a beer, and he was just hanging out. And he said he had to get a shift covered, so I guess he was doing some kind of volunteer work, maybe pouring beers or serving food or ushering, I don't know, something, at one of these public events. And so he's scrambling, and he got added to the roster a little after 3 o'clock. He actually said, I saw in his interview, he answered the phone at 3:15.
Right.
And first pitch was like a little after 6 o'clock that night. So this all came together very quickly. Yeah, just really fantastic outing for him too. He pitched 6 2/3 through 100 pitches, struck out 2, and got a win. Sioux City won 11-2. He only gave up the 2 runs, and I got a quote here from his manager, who made the call, and kind of talked about in this interview as well. Quick shout out to KTIV Channel 4 there locally covering this and doing a really good job getting me some quotes and some info. I really appreciate that. So shout out to them. If you're in the Sioux City area, check them out. But here's this quote from Montgomery, the Sioux City Explorers manager. He's mature, so he's just going to throw strikes and let guys get themselves out. So that's what he did, and he did that his second start too. He's not trying to trick anybody. He's not trying to strike anybody out. He's trying to make you get yourself out. And I think, Brian, at 44 years old and having not pitched for that long, that was probably the way to go for him, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Don't go up there and try to outsmart them with heat. Go up there and outsmart them.
Yeah.
Don't just go up there and think that I'm going to blow up past these guys, because he's probably not going to be able to do that. But on the other side, too, the batters are probably thinking, well, we got this guy. And they don't.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, there's certainly a mentality when, and indie ball is so wacky anyways, one of the interviews I saw kind of opened with, hey, look, everybody in indie ball has a story. You don't get to indie ball, that's not you were the top prospect, you did all the things you were supposed to do. There's probably some failure involved in your story if you're playing indie ball, regardless of your age or your experience or what else you do. So yeah, there had to be a mentality of, but there's also that, like, we don't have a game plan on this guy. Like, you've not seen him pitch. You don't have tape. You don't have anything really to study on him. You just got to go up there and do your best, and who knows what he's going to throw.
Right.
And, it sounds like he did good. But, the thing that struck me the most because this has kind of been presented, at least on the surface, as like this guy was sitting on the couch and got the call and just got up and pitched a good game. No, he's been at this for 4 years, he said.
Yeah.
Training, preparing, working on his body and his mechanics, but also the mental side of baseball, which at his age and in this opportunity, I think was the most important thing, Brian, was the mental aspect of convincing yourself, I can do this. I belong on this mound. There's a reason they called me other than desperation, and nobody else would pick up the phone.
Right.
You know, and even if you don't believe I belong here, you have to convince yourself there's a reason I'm on this mound.
Well, I mean, he's got to be mentally in the right spot with his circumstances. So he talk about ultimately psyching yourself up to go do this. I mean, this is a study in it. This guy could possibly be a movie.
I agree.
I mean, I think it would be a really, really good movie to show, you know, the guy coming out of the legislature and still has it, and he's playing very smartly. I'm telling you, we're going to see this in the next 10 years on film somewhere.
Yeah, so I've just pulled up his baseball reference page, and he was not an especially good pitcher when he was in indie ball before. I'm just going line to line. ERA 6.46, 4.24, 7.91, 5.54, 8.25 in his last year. Basically allowing a run an inning in 10 games, you know, not particularly good. But now he has, he's got 2 starts under his belt, 2.13 ERA in 12 and 2/3 innings pitched. You know, just really has only given up 3 earned runs in those 12 innings pitched. Got 2 wins, you know, which I think at that level means as much as anything else. I mean, what else are you playing for?
Right.
You know, he knows he's not going to get signed to a major league contract. This is the big leagues for him at this point.
Right.
So
and the money's not exactly spectacular.
I bet he makes more as a representative than he does pitching these games. I mean, let's be honest, this is a hobby. So
yeah.
Kudos to J.D. Schulten, though.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. I don't know anything about his political platform, but he'd have my vote if I was in Iowa. Just because he's a baseball guy, and I'm into that.
We're moving to Iowa.
I don't know. A lot of baseball guys have some pretty shitty political views, but we're not going to get into that. Not the time and place.
No, we're definitely not getting into that. This would make a great movie.
It would make a fantastic movie. I hope somebody gets a hold of it.
Kevin Costner plays this guy at the age he is now. It's a hit.
Yeah, you're probably right. Costner could play the manager too.
Yeah.
I could see Costner really good in that desperate, like calling around, like freaking out who's going to pitch today.
No, Bill Murray's got to play the coach.
So now it's a comedy.
It's his straight work. He does straight stuff every now and then.
Yeah, sure he does. Sure he does. We need to get Kyle Banduho back and see what he thinks about all this.
Yes, we do. We need to see what he thinks. And Murray's brother, Brian Doyle Murphy, can play like the front office guy. I mean, I'll cast this whole thing out here.
My goodness. So so that's the scoop on J.D. Schulten. And listen, if you are anywhere near independent baseball, I recommend going and see it. It's a cool thing, and it's a low budget type of business. It's not easy for these teams to make it. They have to pay their players, which is really challenging. So if you are anywhere near, or you're on vacation anywhere near an independent league team, please go support them. It's good baseball. It's guys that are just hanging on to a dream and just doing it for the love of the game. Honestly, and you'll never know who you see. Staten Island Ferry Hawks this year in the Atlantic League, I think, have Pablo Sandoval, the Panda, World Series MVP 3-time. He got in really good shape in the spring and actually went to Giants training camp.
Okay.
And just didn't make the cut. It's such a young man's game. We've talked about that every week here about the swell of young talent at the major league level.
Youth movement.
Yeah, youth movement for sure. But yeah, so Pablo Sandoval is just hanging out playing in Staten Island, and you just never know who you're going to run into at these indie ball games. And Brandon Phillips was a major leaguer for the Reds most notably, and he was a star in Indy ball. And, wore 42 and talked about how important it was for him to be able to wear the number 42 for Jackie Robinson, which he obviously was not able to do in the big leagues.
Right.
With good reason. Mm-hmm. But, a lot of great stories in Indy ball. So please go support independent baseball or summer league baseball or minor league baseball. They all benefit a lot from ticket sales and merchandise sales and concessions, sales. So we're actually going to be doing a lot of supporting of
next week,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You are.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we wrap up and talk about Patreon, because I almost said Patron.
The Patron.
Shout out Tony Schiavone on that one. It got in my head. But yeah, we'll talk about that. We're gonna do some Patreon content from some games next week. But Brian, I got a few quick hits this week. Very quick hits.
All right.
This week. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So over the last couple days, I've seen some new concession items, and this one has made the rounds more than any other. The Rockies have a new concession item that would appear like it is spaghetti and meatballs. It kind of looks like spaghetti and like an Alfredo sauce and big, like, dark, well-done meatballs. It's actually vanilla ice cream and donut holes with some mint and some strawberry syrup. I don't know, Brian. You know what? I'm going to very quickly see if I can find. I should have done this in my research before, but I want to see if I can find a price on this.
Okay, well, I'm all over this.
Okay.
No matter what it costs. I'll mortgage the house. I've got to have this. This is a brilliant idea. It's a beautiful food item, and it just looks so yummy.
It looks intriguing. I think... Would you try it? I want to know how much it's going to cost.
Yeah. Well, it's ice cream, so it probably comparative to the helmet full of ice cream, which is what, like $5-6? I think somewhere around there.
This has got to be more than that.
Okay, because it's pretty big.
It's huge. There's like 5 of those donut holes.
Well, that's true. There's a lot of donut holes.
It's only available in Section 119. So if you're going to Rockies games, Section 119 for this. I can't find a price without spending more time on this than talking. I'm contingent on price.
Okay.
For a dessert, I'm weird with dessert at games anyways because of my health stuff and my inability to counteract it with medication while I'm at a ballpark. Mm-hmm. So I'm picky about my dessert items at ball games anyways. But if this thing is like, I don't know, if it's more than $10, I don't know that I'm in.
Well, okay, if it's more than $10, I've got to try it. It would make a great 6th inning treat.
Sure.
Which follows my ritual of how I eat. I don't know if I would come back to it if it was over $10. I guess it depends on how big it is.
Yeah.
You want to eat ice cream in the 6th inning, but you don't want to eat so much of it because if you're drinking beer, that's a disaster.
Well, how about this? We go to a Rockies game and we'll split one.
Okay, we'll do that.
We'll split the cost. We'll split it up so it's a little bit for both of us. We can both try it.
I like it. I think we should do that.
That's our polar pasta plan. Mark it down. 2GTB is coming, Coursefield.
Watch out. We're on the way.
Speaking of baseball trips that we would love to take but will never be able to afford, the 2025 MLB schedule was released yesterday as we're recording, and Brian and I are both very excited because the season is opening in Tokyo, Japan.
Yep.
And it's Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and maybe Roki Sasaki, and my Los Angeles Dodgers against Shota Imanaga, Seiya Suzuki, and Brian's Chicago Cubs for 2 games. That's going to be a blast.
Fight for the death to find out who will be. 2 teams enter, 1 team leaves.
Unbelievable, man. Second year in a row, the Dodgers are going to start the year over in Asia, which is huge. A lot of people griping that it's the Dodgers again. Well, get over it because the Dodgers ownership group is paying for this. It's sponsored by Guggenheim. So, and if Babe Ruth played in Japan and they did a series in America, the team he was on would have been in it, whether you liked it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Absolutely.
The way it goes, right?
Yeah.
This guy is Elvis and Michael Jordan wrapped into one, but like times 10 over in Japan. I mean, he's a huge celebrity. Not to mention Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who was a 3-time MVP in Japan when he came over to the Dodgers. And then you look at the Cubs, Imanaga, Suzuki. I think these two teams make the most sense. Mm-hmm. They're two of the classic franchises, so they have global support anyways.
Right.
I just think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm really looking forward to this series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll see Shohei pitch. I mentioned Roki Sasaki, who is expected to post to the major leagues this coming offseason, and the Dodgers are already heavily linked to him. So whether Sasaki signs with the Dodgers or not, it's going to be a lot of Japanese star power from these two clubs.
Right. I mean, it's the I mean, I wish we could do it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I mean, can we get those guys over there, go ahead and play one?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I can't wait for this. Not just the entertainment value of it being our two teams, but exactly what you're saying about the players being back in their country. I mean, it's going to be huge business. It's going to be huge fun all the way around. Again, the only downside, we have to wait till next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, every time Major League Baseball does something like this, it's amazing because it really magnifies and celebrates the baseball culture wherever they are. You know, like last year in Korea, they had the dance teams, which is a big thing in Korea. And, you know, it's just a different culture of baseball over there, and that gets celebrated.
Yeah.
They don't go over and whitewash everything and make it just like it is over here. They let the city and the country and the region they're in, even when they went to London this year with the Cubs and the Phillies, you know, that was really cool because that's a growing maturing baseball culture, and so for them to get the chance to see Major League Baseball and see two teams like that, you know, that was really great. So this is going to be wonderful for the game. It's going to be really magnificent overall, I think, for everybody involved, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I am too. It's so much fun. I mean, words cannot justify how big this is going to be for me and you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a blast. And when I say a fight to the death, it's on in my living room. The living room is not big enough for both of us.
I don't know that I'll be coming over to watch this series. I'd probably rather communicate via text.
What if I get the ice cream flown in from the Rockies?
It would melt, pal.
Well, we'll get a refrigerator truck to drive it.
Okay.
See, incentive.
We'll have to talk. We'll have to negotiate off air on this one. We don't have time to go through this now. Other good news, especially if you're a fan of the Tampa Bay Rays, the St. Petersburg, Florida City Council has approved their new ballpark, set to open in 2028. So it looks like, despite some rumors and some rumblings about relocation, perhaps even to Montreal, looks like the Tampa Bay Rays are staying right where they're at.
And I'm glad. I'm glad they're staying there. I'm glad they're getting a new ballpark. They do need a new ballpark. In my opinion, the other one is not old, but it's outdated. And they need a better facility to play in. And I'm glad they're not moving to Montreal because, you know, I'm all for the Expos coming back, but I think we need to create a new team.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to transplant from somewhere else. I like the Rays a lot. I watched them a lot last season, and I'm glad they're staying there where their fan base is because they have a dedicated. I mean, every team has a dedicated fan base.
Sure.
But they have a really good and fun, dedicated fan base. There's not a lot of arguing amongst the fans. It's a lot of team support, and that's big online because a lot of teams you don't get that.
That's very true, and the Rays have a very specific way of doing business, and for their whole fan base to get on board with that and get behind it and support it is huge because, you know, being a Dodger fan, I have to ignore 100 people a day on Twitter talking about how Dave Roberts is the problem. And it's just like, you know, if you're paying attention and you have any sort of education past kindergarten, you can see that Dave Roberts is not the problem.
Right.
You know, and things like that. And of course, with the Cubs, it's all Jed Hoyer's fault.
That's true.
Because he's not Theo Epstein.
That's true. I don't know about this other poppycock, but that's true.
Yeah. Well, so good for St. Petersburg, good for the Rays. You know, obviously, big news there. So that's going to do it for our quick hits. I told you I only had a few this week because we want to talk all things All-Star.
Yeah.
And Brian, we're just gonna get right into this. Start with Monday night, the home run derby. Wow, just I think I tweeted out on the podcast Twitter. What a magnificent night for the game of baseball.
It was super, super fun and very competitive. And that's what I like. I like that it's automatically a fun atmosphere with the home run derby, but it was competitive this year. And you really nobody ran away with it. It was down to the very last pitch.
Yeah.
And that was great. I was literally on the edge of my seat every at bat.
First off, really exciting for me to see Teoscar win it. Teoscar Hernandez, who's on a 1-year deal with the Dodgers. And one thing Dodger fans pretty much universally are agreeing on right now is that we need to put an extension in front of that guy ASAP.
Yeah.
He has been a major difference maker. He is the most lovable guy I've seen in a long time come to the Dodgers, and that's huge. As a fan base, you want guys like that it's easy to cheer for, not just personality-wise, but with their performance on the field. And Bobby Witt Jr., great showing. I mean,
excellent showing.
One of the great young stars that's rising from this young crop of players. There were a few of those in this, and there were some complaints that there weren't quote unquote bigger names participating in the Derby, but I think this was a good group.
Oh, it was a great group. They had big names in there. I mean, come on. Teoscar's a good one. The Bobby Witt Jr., you're really high on him. I mean, you have been talking about him before, but Henderson also.
Gunner's another one of those young stars that's really rising to the top right now.
Yeah, so I think it was the perfect field. I think it was evenly matched. No one outshined anyone else on paper.
Right.
And that's what made it so interesting in application is the fact that everybody was kind of equal, so it was anybody's game to win.
I think you're right, and I know there was talk of Gunner and Pete Alonso being favorites and things like that, but this is such a weird competition, and it's right in the middle of the season. It's not like they've had, months to train for this. They have literal days.
Yeah.
So it's all about, and I think one of the things that was successful for Teoscar, shout out to Dino Ebel, who was he's the Dodgers third base coach, best third base coach in the major leagues. I'll fight you over that. And was his pitcher, his BP pitcher, and I think for Teo, he just said, you know what? I'm not going to try to change my approach. I'm not going to change my swing. I'm going to have Dino put it where I know I can hit it out.
Right.
And then for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in between or on his timeout, I think in one of the rounds to come over and say, hey, hit it to that bullpen over there. That's your power spot. And then Teo goes off.
Yeah.
So, cool to see Vladdy in the Teo Blue Jays jersey supporting his old teammate.
Yeah, the throwback.
Just a really cool night, man. Just really fun. I saw some complaints about how long it was. I never noticed.
I didn't notice it either.
I was in it the whole time, and I remember telling you that night, I actually had trouble getting away from the screen to go to the bathroom or get something to drink because there was so much excitement and I didn't want
going on.
I didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
I don't think it went on too long. I like the new format. It's a little bit more reminiscent, I think, of the old days. Shout out Ken Griffey Jr., who didn't want to be on camera, and all he did was bitch about how it was different.
Yeah, he did not want to be there on the set, did he? He just wanted to be there in spirit,
man. And Eduardo was just grabbing anybody that walked by.
Anybody.
And Griffey just was like, man, these guys, they don't even know. We got 10 outs. They get so many swings. We got 10 outs, But it was a lot of fun. You mentioned Gunnar Henderson, and I think. I think, Gunnar Henderson, I think, was a great signing. I think he's going to be a one of the things that really struck you was the Scooby-Doo stuff with Gunnar Henderson.
Yes. I mean, I am a huge Scooby-Doo fan.
And I'm here to tell you, currently in Brian's living room, there is a box set of DVDs that looks like the Mystery Machine. He's not kidding. He's a huge
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo guy.
Yeah, I keep that ready to roll it at a moment's notice. I watch it with my puppies. The late Jazzy loved watching Scooby-Doo, so we loved baseball, loved Scooby-Doo, so she was a good girl. But, I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, I loved it. I mean, he was my guy. That's who I picked.
Yeah.
I was disappointed. I switched on the next round because I had to, but the bat was awesome.
Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, so for events like this, the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby, they let the guys kind of have some fun with their bats, and they have these nice design bats, and Gunnar had a Scooby-Doo themed bat, and he got pulled over to the desk like everybody else that just happened to walk by, and actually did his Scooby-Doo impression, and it was damn good. I mean, I think it's nickname worthy.
Yeah.
He could be Scooby in the clubhouse. Mm-hmm. It's so good.
Or Shaggy.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah.
Brian, you got a Scooby-Doo impersonation? Okay. That's, fair to middling. I'm not even going to try because I know I ain't got it. But that was fun, and that just kind of goes into the next day's events. I didn't watch any of the red carpet, but I did see a couple of pictures. And the most striking thing for me was Alec Boehm on the inside of his jacket, on the inside of his suit jacket, had the logo of every minor league team he had played for leading up to getting to the majors and then obviously becoming an all-star. He apologized for not having his college logo on there, which was Wichita State, but I thought that was very cool, and that's one of my favorite things about the All-Star Game. For instance, I'm not a big fan of miking guys up while they're playing.
Yeah, me either.
But there was a couple years ago, I think it was, Jose Trevino, the catcher from the Yankees, it was his first All-Star Game, and he's literally on the mic catching and talking about what a surreal experience it is, and that was very cool, in the moment, hearing what's going through his head, and this was very similar. Alec Boehm shouting out everybody that got him there. And, that's just one of the great things about All-Star Week is, the first-time All-Stars and their reactions and, just what it means to them. I mean, this is a big deal. The Major League All-Star Game was the first All-Star Game. Everybody else is copying the major leagues. It's copying baseball because this is a baseball concept. And I think to this day, Major League Baseball does it better than any of the other major sports. I'm a little biased, but that's just me.
I agree.
NBA's getting there. NBA needs more star power.
Yeah.
With their events, but that's the other great thing about the Home Run Derby is if you're not an All-Star, you're not in the Home Run Derby. So these are star players. They're not. It's not Ohtani. It's not Harper. It's not the guys that you maybe would dream in the Home Run Derby. But like you said, these are star players. I mean, these are guys that. While they're not the faces of the league, they're right underneath the faces of the league. And this is going to help grow the game because I'm way more interested in Gunnar Henderson now after seeing a little bit of his personality. I'm way more into Bobby Witt, and I've been high on Bobby Witt for a long time. But he plays in Kansas City. I don't see him a lot,
Right.
And that's no dig on the Royals. It's just they've not been good. So they've not done nationally televised games. They've not, the Dodgers see him once a year, twice a year, whatever, So to see him up close and in person and just kind of be in awe of him and, all his family there because, he grew up there in Texas because his dad played for the Rangers for so many years. And just a really cool experience. And, Brian, we've talked a lot about this youth movement. In the major leagues, and Paul Skeens from the Pirates, who we've talked about on the program, 11 career starts, and he started the All-Star Game. He's a phenom. I mean, he's taken the baseball world by storm.
Yes, he is.
And beyond the great stuff and the good pitching, he's got the mustache, which is a little interesting.
Got to have the stash.
Livy Dunn, his girlfriend, who's a gymnast, I think.
Yes, I was going to mention her, and I thought is he going to get hot if I mention the
No,
girlfriend?
because she's a bigger star on
Yeah.
social media than he
Yeah,
is.
she's a lot bigger star. Yeah. So yeah, I popped when I saw her when they put her on screen. They were like, she was cheering for him and into it.
Yeah.
So total youth moment.
So the most striking thing for me with Paul Skeens, I saw this right about the time he got picked as the All-Star starter. He's the fourth pitcher in Major League history to have multiple games with no hits allowed and 10 or more strikeouts in a single season. Nolan Ryan did it in 1973. That was like his fourth or fifth season, I want to say. Max Scherzer did it in 2015. He's an established big leaguer by that point. Justin Verlander did it 2 years ago, and it was like his 17th season in the league. Paul Skeens did it in his first 11 starts in the big leagues.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And he seems like he's handling all this success well.
Yeah.
That he fits right into the mold.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too because, they interviewed him after the fact and, he faced some heavy hitters and some big stars and was around a lot of big stars. Guys that just a couple years ago he was watching on TV, probably emulating or trying to be like, because you got to remember, a year ago, he was just a draft pick.
Right.
This guy was drafted literally a year ago, number 1 overall, and he's already starting the All-Star game. And I love what that says about the current game because, again, we've got to stop with this country club reputation that baseball has given themselves. And in order to get young players who don't come from country club backgrounds, that path from drafted to the major leagues has got to be shorter.
Yeah.
And this is a exceptional player. This is not the rule. But if a guy at that level can skip in a year from draft pick to starting the All-Star game,
Yeah.
then a guy a little bit further down goes, you know what? I can pick baseball and I can live for 2 years in the minor leagues to get to that big payday.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a good way to look at it, and baseball should start looking at it that way.
And they are, and that's what's led to this. And I'm so glad. And Paul Skeens is the right guy because he really handled the moment and the pressure about as well as could be expected. I hope he had some fun. I hope the pressure wasn't all he was feeling. I hope he had the chance to enjoy himself because it's a big deal. And here's the thing, especially right now with the level of play, injuries can happen. You're not guaranteed you ever get to go back.
Right. You got to enjoy every moment of it because, it may last that game or it may last 20 years. I mean, they don't play 20 years anymore, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
The ride may be a lot longer, but it may be a lot shorter, and you got to enjoy every second that you're there.
Absolutely.
And that's a key in life. Sorry to interrupt, but you got to enjoy every second in life because it might be your last.
Right. You're not promised the next breath.
Right.
So whether you're Paul Skeens or you're two broke guys talking about baseball into microphones.
Right. Some really nice microphones.
Very nice. We were actually just talking about how much we love our microphones before we went on the air. Another cool thing I wanted to mention, Brian and I both are baseball card advocates. Me a little bit more than him lately. I've gotten back into collecting a little bit the last few years. But Matt Strom, the reliever from the Phillies, one of a couple relievers that were on the team from Philadelphia, he had a belt that he wore for the game and for the home run derby night that was made entirely, I guess, out of baseball cards, real baseball cards.
Yeah, and they're very cool. I had seen similar items like that for sale, and I don't know if they were the actual cards or if they were replicas in the belts, but there's a company, and I wish I knew the name of it. I will research that and have that next week. But they're very cool, very, very collector-ish and everything, but his cards, is my understanding.
Yeah, it was his baseball cards. And Topps has now already made a card commemorating the belt made of cards, and
that's awesome.
If you're kind of new to cards or you're wanting to get back into it, Topps now is a great place to start. Anything that they think is worthy of being commemorated on a baseball card, they will just put it on a card. And you can go to Topps website, Topps.com, and look at the Topps Now. They basically sell it for a limited amount of time. What they sell is what they print. And I've got one. I've got a few. I've got one. The most recent one I got was when Shohei Ohtani signed with the Dodgers. They made a Topps Now card, and I said,
Right.
"Well, I gotta have it. It's the first. It's the first Shohei Dodger card. I gotta have it."
Absolutely.
I've got one. There was that great moment last season with Clayton Kershaw where they got that great picture where he's just coming off the mound roaring, and they put that on a card, and I said, "Gotta have that on a baseball card because
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite pictures of all time." I love Clayton Kershaw, obviously, but yeah. So cool on Topps, for bringing some attention to that, and cool on Matt Strom for getting a little creative. I think that there's Bryce Harper influence when you see Alec Boehm with the jacket,
Yeah.
Matt Strom with the belt. Bryce Harper's a really flashy guy, and he's always very creative with his
Yeah.
suits and the way he looks. And I think there's some Bryce Harper dust,
Yes.
being sprinkled.
Maybe some competition, some one-upsmanship.
Maybe, yeah. I didn't put this in the format, Brian, and I don't even know if you saw it. Did you see Shohei Ohtani's jacket on the red carpet?
No, I didn't.
He had his dog, Decoy, stitched on the inside.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'll send it to you when we get off air. I should have thought about it, but it just occurred to me. So Shohei had a really cool Decoy, Decopan, famously Shohei Ohtani's dog. It was featured on his, and it reminded me so much a couple years ago, Tony Gonsolin, the cat man, made the All-Star team, and he had cat paws all over his suit, and I can't remember another Dodger All-Star bought, it might have been Kershaw, bought him that suit, took him to get the suit made, and welcome to being an All-Star. I've done this a lot, but this is your first one, and I want, again, you might not get another one, so we're going to make sure you enjoy this one and you get everything you can out of it. So,
well, and you know how much we love suits also. That's right down our alley too, and the more wild, the better.
Absolutely, we love any kind of formal occasion just standing out.
Yeah,
it's what it's all about.
Sometimes we just go to Walmart in a suit, or at least I do.
I wear a suit for business a lot more than you do, so I don't really wear it for fun.
I wear it in my backyard sometimes just because I
just
can.
Run the lawnmower and the weed eater in the suit. Hey, neighbor. They're just looking at you like, what is this guy's deal?
What is wrong with him? Trust me, I don't need the suit for them to think that.
Yeah, fair enough. Moving on to the actual All-Star game. The AL gets the win, of course, because they always win now. Shohei Ohtani on the National League side hit a 3-run home run and had a walk. He's the first player in Major League history to have all of his team's walks and all of his team's RBIs in the All-Star game. So, thanks for the help, guys.
Yeah, he's got to do it all himself.
Well, he hit that home run, and I texted you, Brian, and said, well, Teo won the Derby, and now Shohei's going to be the MVP.
Yeah.
But the team let him down.
They didn't do anything after that.
Nothing.
Were they even playing? Were they on the field?
They were. Jarren Duran was on the field. He hit a 2-run home run that ended up being the game winner, and he won the MVP. Not mad at that. Would have loved to seen a Dodger win the MVP, but Jarren Duran is very cool, and he is very open about his battles with mental health, and has taken some heat and some fines for some like a shirt he wore.
Okay.
Basically the shirt just said F him.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his demons and his anxieties and, whatever else he deals with.
Right.
Mentally, and we talked earlier with JD Schulten a little bit. The mental part of the game is really important. And,
absolutely.
Joey Votto has famously opened up about his anxiety and mental health, and I think he's been a much more likable person since he was open about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of holding it in and carrying it all himself. He's a weirdo, but he's like a really likable weirdo.
Well, and on one of my many trips to Cincinnati, I got to photograph him signing some balls and stuff, some programs and gloves for some kids. And he was very uncomfortable. And you could tell. He wasn't being rude, but he wasn't being nice either. Then you flash forward and he's talking more about his mental health and everything. He's out there. He's happier.
Yeah.
And he's in the next time I saw him, then he was just happier to be there and playing with the kids and signing the merchandise.
Right. Because those anxieties and those demons, they get called a lot. They will consume you. And if you don't deal with them and talk about them, they will affect you in that way and other ways too. You can't hold that stuff up and obviously if you're dealing with mental health, there's a lot of help out there. My DMs are always open. I say that every time we bring up mental health. I know you probably don't know me, but I've been through it, and I still do all the cool things I do in my life and battle it every day. And I feel like I have a very good handle on it, and I'm very self-aware, and I love talking about it with people and helping people through it. So, if you're having a rough one, just holler at me on Twitter, at Dallas Danger. DMs are always open, so holler at me if you need somebody to just kind of listen or want to talk about how I deal with it. Maybe it'll help you a little bit. But Brian, you and I have talked a little bit off air, maybe a little bit on air too, about how the KBO in Korea does their All-Star.
Oh, yeah.
And, one of my favorite things I saw this year was David McKinnon, former Angel, former major leaguer, is playing in Korea now. And he actually got a base hit in the All-Star game dressed as King Kong.
Yeah.
He wasn't wearing the mask, but he had the arms and all the other shit on. And, but there's something they do in Korea that you want to advocate to bring to the Major League All-Star events.
I'm all about some small ball and some bunting. There's nothing more. I mean, I like home runs, but when I see a bunt in a game, I lose my shit.
Yep.
Every single time. To where, like, when Ashley, my wife, sees them square around, she goes, "Oh, God, here we go." So I think they should have a bunting contest as part of the home run derby.
Yeah.
And, put the targets out on the field, the bullseyes, and you got to get it past the pitcher's mound and hit it in this thing. And oh man, I think it would be tremendous if we did.
It'd be wild, right? They do it in Korea. You can if you do a little searching around on Twitter, you can find video of it. Bunting is obviously way more prevalent in the KBO.
Right.
They don't have Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani over there, so they got to play a little bit differently.
Right.
But yeah, and here I'm getting ready Monday. A few days from now, I will be heading to the ballpark in Johnson City and enjoying the Appalachian League All-Star festivities, and they have a skills competition. So I'm interested to see if bunting is a part of that.
Yeah, that would be awesome if it is, man. I'm all about some bunting. I think back to my first Little League experience, and I want to say, and we're going way back there, 40-some years. I want to say the first thing they taught us to do was bunt.
Really?
Instead of hitting, because none of us could hit. When we were little kids.
Yeah.
And I think they taught us to square around and bunt. So I think that's where I get it from. Is my fundamentals go back to that. And you can always bunt, man. Always.
Yeah.
Just get it past that pitcher. That's all. Undefensible.
Yeah. No, it's almost a lost art in this country because we've gotten so enamored with, the three true outcomes.
Yeah.
Homer, walk, or strikeout. I like that the new rules in the majors are starting to not change that necessarily, but there are guys that don't fit into the three true outcome that are able to thrive now. Mm-hmm. We're seeing running the bases a little bit more, which is exciting. We're seeing less of the downtime and the throwing over 20 times and, taking 15 minutes to throw a pitch. And, that's all behind us, and I'm glad. I think it's made the game more exciting. And who knows? We could start to see bunting become a bigger part of the game in the majors again.
Yeah, I think it was now I might be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the 86 Cardinals that had Ozzie Smith and McGee and Templeton and all those guys. They would and that was when there was AstroTurf.
Right.
And they would just bunt hard and let it spike up in the air, and then they would just outrun it.
Yep.
And that's so exciting.
Yeah.
And that was they weren't home run hitters. They were speed.
Yeah, that team was all speed.
I think it was 86.
It was around that time frame. I know I think 85 was the year Ozzie Smith hit the homer and put the Dodgers out that people, a little bit older than me still talk about as like their most disappointing Dodger moment.
Right.
That those 80s Cardinals teams with Ozzie and Vince Coleman and that whole bunch. It was just all speed.
McGee and Herr.
Yeah, McGee and Tommy Herr, and man, it was just They just started the engine and
Just ran.
went, man.
Yeah.
And went.
Yeah, and I see a little bit of that in some players, when they're
Yeah.
running the bases now. And I'm glad we don't have AstroTurf anymore.
Yeah.
I love that that's gone.
Yeah.
And not to get on a tangent, but to get on a tangent, that this new dirt they have is amazing. The rubber dirt combo thing. We need to talk about that at some point when we
Yeah.
know what we're talking about.
For sure. Well, and the mud they put on the baseballs
Yeah.
is interesting too.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
we'll cover that in a future episode. Maybe we'll cover it for Patreon. You never know.
Maybe.
You never know. But I think overall, end of the day, Brian and I both really enjoyed the All-Star festivities.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was great for baseball, and I'm happy to see the game as healthy as it is. I know there are going to be detractors, and that's fine. I'll just continue to ignore you and focus on reality because the game is at an all-time high right now. We are living through a golden era of Major League Baseball. There is so much talent at the top. There's so much talent all the way through. And the All-Star is that game and the home run derby and everything surrounding it. That's a big celebration.
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
of all that talent.
It's a nice break for the teams that need it, like the Cubs and the White Sox. They might want to just take the rest of the year off.
Yeah.
They might just need to cut their losses right now. But it's a good break, and then it's fun for us fans to see everybody playing together and having a good time. And the home run derby's awesome, and we love the uniforms, which we talked about last week. And,
Yeah.
it's just a fun time of year.
Yeah, and that's something you just touched on that I think we maybe take for granted is, you get to see Shota Imanaga pitch every 5 days.
Yeah.
I get to see Shohei Ohtani hit every day. We don't get to see them interact
Yeah.
until the All-Star festivities,
right.
Unless it's like a short clip from batting practice when the Cubs and Dodgers play each other,
Right.
But obviously they interact, but we don't get to see it on a stage on a level like the All-Star game, and that's always so cool, and seeing Corbin Burns kind of half-ass tackle William Contreras because
Yeah.
they used to be teammates, and just having fun and
Yeah.
showing that. Listen, at the end of the day, these are guys that not only get to play a kid's game for a living, they get to make a very good living doing it, and they're being celebrated and honored as the best to do it.
Right.
So for them to go out there and interact and have fun, and us to get to watch it and experience it, and the home run derby is just a classic event. I mean, I remember being a teenager and watching Sosa, McGuire, Bonds, Griffey, even later in his career, just unloading at the All-Star game and the home run derby. When the home run was like king, more than it is now. Even
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about steroids and all that, but it was a magical time, and when baseball needed it, and I'll never forget some of those, man. The one in Coors Field, I don't remember what year, 01 maybe, was just crazy. I mean, some of the greatest home run hitters of all time having a home run derby at the easiest place to hit home runs
Yeah.
in history
Yeah.
was just, there was something about it, and that was something they talked about with Texas, and this year's home run derby was it's a big park. It's not easy to hit home
Right.
runs in that ballpark.
Right.
So the strategy was so important, and I think that's what won it for Teoscar. Just a really great night, a really great couple of nights. And I'm still beaming about it. It was so fun. It was so good for the game. I'm still giddy about
I am too.
about what went down for the All-Star game this year.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, it was just plain fun, and it was a good stress-free couple of days.
It sure was. Brian, is there anything else you would like to cover before we wrap things up today?
Well, you think we should say anything else about the White Sox?
You've been hard. You know what?
They're 32 games out of first.
They're bad. They're very bad. I want to bring this up, and I want to get your take on this. Okay. So, again, there were people that complained about the length of the home run derby.
Okay.
There are now also people that are mad that Teoscar Hernandez's Dodger teammates did not stick around to see him win it and celebrate with him. Now, Freddie Freeman has kids, and they were
Right.
apparently not feeling well.
Okay.
Will Smith has a very young child and a pregnant wife.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been around a pregnant woman, but when they want a pickle, you got to go get them a damn pickle.
Right, I
Or some
have.
peanut butter or
Yes.
something, you know? Like, and Shohei Ohtani famously has a very strict sleep regimen
Okay.
that involves some nights getting 10 to 12 hours of sleep.
Okay.
As a Dodger fan, I don't think it says anything about the team's chemistry or their ability to win together.
No.
But I'd like to get your take on, because everybody's like, well, the Phillies, Bryce Harper and everybody stuck around for Alec Bowman. It's like, but you don't know what their plans were. And also, this was a point that was made on Locked On Dodgers this morning. Shout out to Jeff and Vince. They do a great job with the Daily Dodgers podcast. If you're a Dodgers fan, check them out, Locked On Dodgers. Monday through Friday, every day, about 30 minutes on the Dodgers, whether they're playing or not. And my favorite thing about them is they're great at keeping me calm down in the regular season when games don't matter, but I'm getting frustrated. They're very good at that perspective of like, hey, just enjoy it because October's worse. Okay, you got it. You're right. But anyways, they were talking about Teoscar was the last guy to get announced. So by the time he's announced, Freddie and Will and Shohei might already have other plans.
Right.
The All-Star is yes, the events are going on, but it's a break. It's a break for these guys. Even the guys in the game, in the home run derby, it's a break for them. So they're with their families. They're in a city, for a few days, and they get to enjoy it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Brian, I want your take on this. What do you think it means, if anything, to the team chemistry?
I don't think it means anything to the team chemistry. It looked like to me that it was a family affair because kids were running around everywhere. Kids were involved with bringing the Gatorade and the towels.
Yep.
And then that's awesome. And I'm pretty sure Bryce Harper had his children there because there were kids climbing all over him.
Right.
And I assume he knew them. I hope he knew them. Or somebody knew them. Where did these random kids come from?
Hey, listen, if anybody pops out kids, it's baseball players.
Oh, yeah.
Good grief.
So, no, I mean, the wife, you got to get the kids home. If she's pregnant, you're definitely doing exactly what she says.
And nothing more.
And nothing else.
And
then if you've got a sleep regimen you got to do, I mean, you got to stay on that because if, let's say he stayed up and it messes him up for tonight.
Right.
You might screw his whole week up.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't think it means anything or says anything. I think it just happened, and he didn't seem bothered by it.
Well, he said, and I read an interview where he said he didn't even think about it until the next day when people were talking about it online.
Right.
He was like, "What do you mean? Like, I don't care."
Yeah.
Vladdy Jr. was there, Soto was there, Tyler Glasnow stuck around, but he was there by himself. I don't think he's married yet. I think he just has a girlfriend and no kids, less obligation family wise, and so he stuck around. I thought it was a great night, and I didn't think about it either until the next day when everybody was bitching about it.
So.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thank y'all, as always, for listening. We really appreciate you. You can follow the show on Twitter at 2GTBpod. You can follow me at Dallas Danger. Brian is at 3 Crows Bry. New address for the store. Just want to make sure everybody is aware. Our merchandise store, which has a little something for everybody. Jerseys, t-shirts, hats, but also, notebooks, phone cases, stuff for your dogs, leashes, bowls, all that good stuff. 2gtb.store is where you'll find all that now. Great way to support us directly and show your support for the show. I'm probably going to be rocking some 2GTB gear when I go to the Appy League All-Star stuff. This week.
Very cool.
So get you some of that gear. We are really working hard on our Patreon. This is something that we did not really do back in 2022, the few weeks that we were around back then, but we've decided to really go gung-ho on the Patreon now. If you like our show, we really want to give you a little something extra for not a lot of money. We just put all of the original, is it 11 or 12?
11.
Yeah, 11. Original 11 episodes we did 2 years ago are now on our Patreon, video and audio. And we're really proud of those episodes. We didn't stop because we thought we were bad at this. We stopped because life kind of got in the way, and it just
scheduling.
It just wasn't a priority at the time, and as much as we're making it now. But in addition, again, I'm going to be going to the All-Star festivities for the Appalachian League. in Johnson City, Tennessee this week. And the next day, we just found out Rentaro Sasaki, the all-time Japanese high school home run leader, who opted to not play professionally in Japan and come over here and go to college at Stanford. He's going to be finishing the Appalachian League season right down the road from where we're recording in Greenville, Tennessee. So next week we're going to go, hopefully he plays, because we're going to go catch a Greenville Flyboys game in hopes that we see a Rentaro home run. That would be amazing. And we're going to be taking pictures and video and posting, our thoughts and, what we're seeing and feeling on Patreon. So please go give that a look, patreon.com/2GTB. And finally, our YouTube. YouTube is our exclusive home right now. We are very close to getting on our other podcasting platforms. But the YouTube, just find us, search for Two Guys Talking Baseball, and you'll see our ugly mugs. And please subscribe. Even if you're not going to continue to listen and watch on YouTube, where as long as you don't hit the notification bell, you won't even notice. But subscriptions mean a lot to us, and are going to help us do some things on the YouTube that we really want to do, but we can't because of our current subscriber count. So please help us get that up there. Spread the word. Tell your friends if they like baseball or if they just like hearing two goofy guys talk to each other once a week. We're your guys, as you know. But,
we are your guys.
But for Brian, I'm Dallas, and until next week, we hope you stay well. And again, if you're going through anything mental health wise, please give me a shout. I would love to try to help you through it, and just remind you that there are brighter days ahead for sure. So with all that said, thank you as always for listening, and we will see you next week.
See you at the ballpark.